Hey, what's up? It's Mark at Alchemist.camp, where we learn Elixir by building things, and we also learn the Phoenix framework by building web apps. Today, we're going to continue working on the Trello clone we started last time, and it turns out there's a small issue with our design, and that is that on the real Trello, which is where I am right now, you can drag lists to other positions, and Trello remembers where you left them. So we need to bump up the font size here first, and then we need to add this new field, position. And we're going to make it an integer, which is going to be how far from the left is that given list. So let's go to our migration first. Since we've just started this app and we don't have anything important, we can actually just change this migration. Then we'll drop the whole database and rebuild it instead of needing to roll back the migration, make changes, save it, and then rerun it. So add position integer, and we'll make it default to 0 instead of null. And that's just because it's nicer to have everything be a number unless there's a really good reason not to. And now we'll go to our schema and add the same field there. So field position, and it's still an integer. And we're going to add it into the cast as well so that we can pass position in a change set and it will update. However, we're not going to require it. That's because it's perfectly fine if nobody updates positions. Then we'll just leave the lists as ordered by their creation date by default. So that is good there. And we're also going to update our fixture just so that that default 0 doesn't cause any issues. Position 0 is what we'll use for our fixture. And now we need to drop the database. So mix ecto.drop and mix ecto.setup is the same as running create and then running migrate. So do all these migrations, including the one we just made. Now we actually need to do the same thing again for our test database. So mix underscore env equals test. And set that one up again as well. Make sure that our tests are still running. All right, with that done, we can build out the rest of the scaffolding for our app with generators. Should be pretty smooth sailing since we got a good process last episode. And just a quick thing I want to point out is obviously we don't need the HTML templates in the final app since it's a front-end single-page app, but they are going to make it a little easier for us to input data. It's also a common sort of thing to have in a Phoenix app, so we're just going to build them out anyway. So mix phoenix.gen.html. Next thing we need is comments, so that's in the task context. Comment, and the plural is comments. That's going to be our database table name. And we need body, which is a text type. It belongs to card, so that means we need card ID. References cards. We need same thing for user, so user ID. References user, or users. It's going to be the table name. And do we need anything else for comments? Do we need to order those? No, we don't, because that's going to be purely chronological. Looks good. Yes, we'll do that. The next is activities. They have a bit more complexity, so let's actually just take a look in Trello, see an example of it. They're basically things that have happened to the card. So when it's created, you get this message that it's been added, and then the list it's been added to. Then checklist we don't care about because we're not implementing that. Then moving the card from some list to another list, and then completing the card. So we basically need a type of the activity, and then we need a from for moving it from one place, and then a to, moving it to a place, or just creating it. We have a 2 on that as well because it's been added to the list even though it wasn't moved from another one. So the action is basically just what kind of activity it is. Then a user ID, from ID, a to ID. From and the to reference lists, and the user ID references a user, of course. Then it belongs to a card. So this thing references just about everything we've got. So we'll mix phoenix.gen.html. Activity is going to be in the tasks as well. So task, activity, activities is the database table name. Then action is, so this looks like an enum, and it could be an enum, but we're actually just going to use a string and enumerate the acceptable values of that string inside our schema. That's because we may be adding and changing the acceptable things, and we don't actually need everything encoded in the database itself. If we have an action that has some other activity type, it's not like a data integrity problem. It's actually just a different message that we're showing the user. So action completed, added overall strings. So then the next thing we need is a user ID, which references users. Then we need a from ID, which references lists, and then we need a to ID, which references lists as well. And then we need a card ID, which references cards. All right, let's start with the routes. So go to our router and we'll paste this in for activities. Then we also need one for comments. So resources, comments, and that's going to be the comment controller. Save those two. Now we'll go to the migrations. Migration for comments. Let's see. If a comment is deleted, or if a card is deleted, we definitely want to delete the comments. So make that delete all. And if a user is deleted, we'll do the same because there might be some privacy reason to do so. An index for each. That looks good. Let's move on to the activities. All right, this is a little bit more complicated. So say we moved a card from list A to list B, and then we deleted list A. We don't want to delete that activity, so that'll be nullify. And same thing with 2, because we might move it from A to B to C, and then delete B, and we still want the record of it moving from A to B. So for these two, we'll change nothing into nullify all. If a card itself is deleted, then we definitely want to delete the activities because those don't matter anymore. So delete all. And for user ID, we'll go with nullify so that we have a record of them moving the card around or creating it or so forth. Okay, indexes. We don't really, we could just repeat the same activities again and again and again. So we don't need to make any of these unique. Now let's go to the schemas. The comments schema, there we go. And let's see here. Comments belong to a card and they belong to a user. We want those relationships set up. So say it belongs to card, and the card is mellow.task.card, and they also belong to a user. To the user, mellow.accounts.user. Don't need those two anymore. And we do need to cast, and we do need to validate both of those fields because they have a relationship. So card ID and user ID. every single comment has to have a user ID and a card ID because it belongs to them. For activities, it's a little bit more complicated. We actually want the exact same two lines we've already got here. So we'll just paste those straight in, and we'll delete the user, delete the card. From and to, we can't make a belongs to relationship because not every action will have a to and a from. For example, creating a card, I'll have a list where it's been added to, but it hasn't been removed from anything. So we'll just include those in the cast so that we still have the ability to update them through our change sets. So do card ID, user, actually let's make it alphabetical, from ID to ID and user ID. Then in required, we're just going to have card ID and user ID. With all of that done, let's have a quick look at our tests, and actually let's do mix env equals test mix ecto.drop and setup, which will also migrate everything. All right, and mix test should have a bunch of errors, 24 errors. That's quite a bit. Let's do what we did last time and just dig in one part at a time. We'll start with the contexts and the schemas. Okay, 14 errors, and I bet all of those were in task because users haven't changed. Yeah, they were. And let's look at the errors. Looks like the same kind of stuff we had before. Card ID, user ID can't be blank. So we've just got to make sure we set up those associations, and everything should be fairly easy to fix. So let's get to it. We'll start with our fixture. We've got a helper here for making a list fixture and one for user fixture. We're going to make the same for a card because comments and activities rely on cards. First, let's pull this little bit into its own function. Actually, I guess it's 3 lines there. And we'll just call this get or create user. Get or create user. This will get the last user if there is one. If there isn't one, it will just create a new user and return that. Then we'll user helper in our list. Get or create user. Good deal. Now let's make the same kind of fixture for a card. So card fixture is going to the same stuff except card attributes, get or put, okay. And a card belongs to a list, so we'll get our list with create list. List equals list, actually list fixture. And fixtures, that's using get or create user, so it won't make a new one. We'll already have one from there. And get those attributes out here. Actually, we've already got one there, so we're putting the user ID in, and we're also going to put in list ID. Now, finally, what are the card attributes? Well, let's look at our task test, because we've already got a card set up there. Card fixture, good. Valid attributes here, we'll just steal those and move them over. Valid attributes, and we'll call these create card attributes. Back in our task test, we're going to require both of those functions we just made. We're going to need the card fixture, and we're going to need get or create user. Looks good. Then in cards, let's see, we're not going to need this card fixture anymore. We're just going to use the card fixture we've already got. Those details look fine. Actually, the card fixtures should all still work. Let's save this and try running the test to see. Oops. Undefined function card fixtures 0. Oh, I thought it was a 1 already. All right. Okay, yeah, same number of errors, so no new problems introduced. Now we'll go down to the tests that actually require the card, the ones that we can fix by using that fixture we just made. So our comments are going to need a card and a user. So user is just going to be get or create user, and a card is going to be card fixture create. We need the create card attributes. Just throw these at the top with the other ones. Okay, card fixture is almost good. I'm going to add those attributes in. We'll use map.merge since there are two. Map.merge. User ID is user.id. Card ID is card.id. That should fix some of the tests. Create comment is going to need some special work though. User equals get or create user. Our card is going to be the card fixture. Create card attributes. And then the attributes in the next line are going to have to include this user ID and card ID. So ATTRs, new variable we'll make, equals map.merge. Valid attributes and user ID, user.id, card ID, card.id. And we're going to need the same kind of thing in the activities. Let's just run the test, see where we are though. ATTRs was unused. All right. We needed that. Undefined function card fixture 1. We need 0 and 1 both, just like we did with lists. Okay, we're down to 7 failures. That's some progress. And that's all the way to an activity. Okay. So activities are going to do about the same thing as the comments are. So our comment fixture uses a user and a card, so will the activity. Activity fixture, there we go. And just paste this in there. And let's see, we don't need that or that. Okay, activity, that looks approximately correct. We're going to need to do the same thing we did above. Actually, let's go to create comment. We're going to need exactly this bit in create activity. Whoops, and it's going to make that attributes. And they're all working. Now we've got the controller tests, I believe. Mix test. Actually, we'll just look at all the tests. We've got 10 failures left. Yeah, that sounds just like it was last time when we added 2 new schemas to our context. So mellow web and controllers Should be 5 failing tests in each of these. Comment controller has 5 failures. Card ID can't be blank. So this one, we're going to want to import mellow.fixture only get or create user 0 and create card 1. Assuming we've created that, let's have a quick look at fixtures. Create user, create list. We have not made it. Fortunately, it is trivial. So create card. Save that. We'll go back to our comment controller test. And we're going to use these functions we brought in to improve our fixture here. So our user is going to be get or create user. And then our card is going to come from the create card function, which returns OK and card, like so. Create card and nil. Then our attributes are going to be map.merge, create attributes and user and map with user ID, user.id, card ID, card.id. That by itself should be a good amount of improvement. This section, we're going to need to get a user to put into the attributes. We're going to need to get a card as well. We can get the card with setup create card. And then the user we're going to do separately. And that setup create card will just inject a card into the context here. And let's see, user, we'll just use our getter create user, get or create user. Our attributes are going to be the same ones they've been pretty much every time here. Map.merge, create attributes, and user ID is user.id, card ID is card.id. And we're going to use those attributes in the creation there. And let's run the test, see where we are. Failing. Fixture, mellow.fixture is not loaded and could not be found. What? Mellow.fixture. That looks fine. Mellow.fixtures. Okay. Okay, we have 4 failures. And a warning, variable ATTRs unused. Oh, okay, so that could break every test. Yeah. Now let's run our tests. Boom, all fixed. Good deal. So that just leaves the activity controller. Activity, actually it's probably faster just to do the Command Shift dot to get to this little navigation area. I like this one. Activity controller. Yep. Okay, we're just gonna steal this exactly, and then we'll grab the fixture or the top parts of the fixture as well. ATTRs, and then we'll use these ATTRs. Save that, and then we should be able to go to the create. Actually, there are a bunch of these. Let's see, create activity is here, and set up create card, and we'll add cards in here. And create a user, or actually just get a user because it's already been created, equals get or create user. Attributes are the same thing they are in the other file. There we go. So copy that over and all the tests. I believe that is all the tests. And the basic scaffold is done. We've generated all of the schemas. We've created the necessary associations between them. We've updated the pre-generated tests so that they work with the schema associations. We've made some helpers that will make testing easier in the future. And it doesn't look anything like Trello yet. So, next episode, we're going to work on the main page, and we're going to pull in Vue.js on the front end and start making it look and act more Trello-like. Hope you found this useful. Till next time, code on.